Welcome back to YAFFEE Live, Talk Radio 102.3, a revolution in common sense. We got to get to some Tennessee news and politics right now. Brandon Lewis is the founder of the Tennessee Conservative. You can read his latest stuff at TennesseeConservativeNews.com. Brandon, how are you today, sir?
Man, I'm so excited to be here with you. I missed you last week, but happy to be back in the saddle.
All right. I mean, there's a lot to talk about. First story I wanted to get to that you guys have is the Nashville mayor. We've been talking a lot about that situation. First, I got to get your reaction. He said he was puzzled why Department of Homeland Security would designate them a sanctuary city. Should he be, I mean, are you puzzled? Is he puzzled? I mean, what's happening?
Well, when you have a mayor that is, through written executive orders, saying that all covered employees, which I assume are just Nashville employees of the government, shall report certain immigration communications to the designated person at his or her department office. And so basically that means anything between any metro agency and ICE. And, you know, I think it's kind of interesting here, YAFFEE, to look at Chattanooga. He further instructs that any communication must be submitted, to the Mayor's Office of New Americans, which is basically like saying the Mayor's Office of Illegal Aliens. Tim Kelly also launched this organization in Chattanooga, trying to essentially encourage illegal aliens to break the law, come here and get free taxpayer stuff, and let us facilitate it for you. And so we have this same office here in Chattanooga, and he declared that the Metropolitan Department of Human Resources, et cetera, report on this. And, you know, Andy Ogles has been fighting against this. And, of course, even the rhinos like Cameron Sexton are starting to jump in, saying that this is a complete violation of law. It interferes with federal illegal immigration enforcement. So we shall see what happens.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, his executive order requires all covered employees to report this, which I guess includes like firefighters. So you have police,
trash collectors, dog catchers. I mean, it says all covered employees. I mean, I don't know exactly how I guess they're supposed to be, I don't know, looking out for ICE, letting you know if ICE is arresting somebody. I don't know.
Now, you had mentioned the office you were talking about there. You mentioned we have that in Chattanooga, but Tim Kelly hasn't gone quite this far as I'm aware, right?
He wants to. He just doesn't. You know, he still has to act as if he's somewhat moderate on some issues. And I think the recent electoral shift in opinions has probably had a lot to do with that. During the Biden administration, he was very Trumpety about it. So we'll see if any of that changes. I think we can pretty much always expect the mayor of Chattanooga to likely be in favor of more illegal immigration in our county, no matter what it does to people.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think you're right. I'm speaking with Brandon Lewis, founder of the Tennessee Conservative. I would also encourage people, just go listen to the Nashville mayor's comments right after that TBI ICE raid that happened. I mean, he gets up there and he's just like, it's a very sad day for our city. This is not how we should treat our community members. And then now he's puzzled. Now he's just puzzled. Why? We're not a sanctuary city. I mean, okay, it sure seems like you were headed in that direction then, I guess. So very interesting. I want to talk about this story as well. You have this on your site. It says here, Memphis Pride celebrates 50 years with trans and AIDS nonprofit grand marshals, and, of course, inviting kids. So, of course, when we see a lot of this Pride stuff, they always seem to want the kids there, right?
I know it. If you can't produce them, you must groom them. I mean, you can't produce them, right? You've got to groom them. It's the only way to get one. And, you know, the two grand marshals of this Memphis Pride Fest parade are a 78-year-old trans woman, just a man in a dress, right, who was diagnosed with AIDS, and a community manager with an AIDS nonprofit for Latinos. You know, it's interesting. I think, you know, your homosexuality is 20 times more likely to land you in a situation where you catch AIDS. Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of like, okay, we're going to simultaneously celebrate this lifestyle while trying to prevent the disease. I don't think that you can do both of them. I don't know that they really are trying, but it's going to lead the annual Bill Street Pride Parade, which is expected to have 60,000 people there, and children are welcome. There's no age restrictions, and it intends also in Nashville Nashville's Pride Festival scheduled for later this month. It's also open to children where Nashville's middle school teacher, Benjamin Slinkard, who openly advertises his side hustle as a drag queen, is set to be the host on the main stage. So, yeah, this is amazing to me that, A, we're celebrating it, B, we're trying to get kids to it. I mean, I can understand it from their perspective, but why the state of Tennessee and most parents and other folks that don't agree with this, the vast majority of Tennesseans, why they tolerate it is kind of, a mystery to me.
Now, you mentioned tolerating it. It does seem like, though, that there's not as much of this kind of stuff ever since Trump got elected. That a lot of the culture, there's been kind of a backlash to some of this because, I think most people are kind of like, do what you want in your own time, in your own place. But it just became so in your face. And then they started targeting our children. And I think that's really what kind of stoked the backlash to a lot of this.
You're correct. Whenever there's a change in national climate, you see the state stuff follow. It's kind of unfortunate, really. It should be the other way around. The thing that we have to keep in mind, YAFFEE, is people in the state of Tennessee, I'm always encouraging you to get involved in your state and local government. Don't just watch Fox News and CNN. The issue is whenever Trump gets in office or we elect a Republican, we think that all the problems are going to be solved at the state and local issue. Well, apparently, we report every day that they're not being solved. So we really need stronger leadership on the state level with this stuff. And I will say this, it's interesting, Fox News recently did like a survey, and this was on self-reported mental health, right? Self-reported mental health. And liberals reported, this is them self-reporting, that only 20% of them had excellent health and 45% had poor, whereas conservatives said 51% had excellent health and 19% had poor. So, we've got a situation here where we're pushing these ideologies that have remarkably high incidences of mental illness and depression, and then we wonder why we get it, right? And when you live your life in a way that is not conducive with the natural laws and order of things, like it creates within you this problem, right? Because in my opinion, I think you're just out of line with God's providence in the way that He has put a manual together to lead your life, and so I think it leads to these mental states. And it's sad to me that we're trying to recruit kids to get into these lifestyles because we know that ultimately they don't seem to make people happy.
Yeah, especially when you're talking about the transgender stuff. I mean, just study after study shows that, they're arguing that if you get the so-called affirming care, it's going to make you happier. But studies show no. I mean, they have the same amount of suicidal ideation after the so-called treatment than they do before, if not worse. And then we're seeing kind of a movement of those detransitioners who transitioned, as young people, and then they regret it in the long term.
Could you imagine? I mean, I'm 45 years old. I'm a man, and I don't have health issues. I'm pretty good health, but like just trying to stay in good shape for the body you're in with the hormones you have and the diet you need and the exercise and perhaps medication of some sort if you have to get on it. Imagine trying to live a quality life while simultaneously pumping medications and surgeries and things into your body that are fighting against its fundamental function. Like that can't make you feel better. I mean, it can't. I mean, studies show that when people's hormones are regulated properly, they're happier, they're healthier. And when you go into a situation where somebody says, I think I'm something else, and we're just going to treat them, what's next? If somebody thinks they're a bovine, are we going to put them in a head patch? Are we going to sprinkle them with 7 Dust? What are we going to do to these people when they begin identifying as other things? And so it makes zero sense. I think it's some kind of weird, corrupt, even spiritually probably satanic thing that has seized our culture, and so we've just got to be on the lookout for it, and we have to be outspoken and vocal to protect the kids.
Well, not only that, but we have this issue, you talk about it on your site as well, out of Rutherford County, where the library board goes back. They removed a lot of the transgender books, and then I guess there was a lawsuit by the ACLU and others, so they're going back and they're going to put them back, I guess. It's kind of sad they caved on this so quickly.
Well, it's kind of confusing to me, and rhinos and Democrats constantly use lawsuits as, lawfare against people that just have different opinions. And I think that some of this might stem from the fact that the state law that was put in place allowed local boards to do, within reason through a review process, what they wanted to do. Wanted to give it a little bit more local control, but honestly, as we continue to see these boards in these larger areas like Chattanooga and Rutherford County and Knoxville, Nashville, it's becoming evident to me that when it comes to putting this trash in the libraries, that the state of Tennessee just needs to make a law related to the tax benefits of the organization. I think if you just said, "Hey, listen, you can put all this crap in your library, but we're not funding it."
Yeah, I mean that really is the best way to go.
Get people's attention. That is like the number one issue to get people's attention in almost every organization. It seems like or politics is just money. You got to take the money away. And so hopefully something will happen at the state level so that boards like this that make decisions that are good for the kids initially can stick with them.
Yeah, I know in Alabama they worked on it at the state level. Plus people got into the Alabama Public Library Service and their board to try to change things. So you got to get the right people on the board as well. But I think you're exactly right. Once you start talking about the funding, and those that call it censorship, it's just so silly. Obviously, since libraries have existed, there has been a curation process for what's appropriate for children and what's appropriate to be out in front. I mean, that's always existed, but now it's like, okay, maybe some of this stuff isn't appropriate for children. They scream censorship against free speech. It's kind of absurd, right?
It is. I don't know. You have to be protective of children, look at what they consume, what they think, who they're around, the environment they spend their time in, especially, up until they're 18, 19, 20 years old. I mean, and as you get older, I'm sure yourself, YAFFEE, you look back at things that happened to you when you were a kid, things you were exposed to, and you never seem to be able to shake it, right? It follows you around the rest of your life. It's how we're built somehow. And so I would love to see, just generally speaking, the culture in the United States of America go back more toward a family-centric traditional values, because it just produces better outcomes and a better society. And so we need to begin selling that better as conservatives, and preaching the positives of that and embracing that versus, in my opinion, always, trying to play whack-a-mole with these liberal issues that come up piecemeal.
Oh, I agree with that. 100% agree with that. Brandon Lewis, founder of the Tennessee Conservative. You can read his stuff at TennesseeConservativeNews.com. Brandon, always appreciate you coming on the show. I know you're filling in for me one day next week as I'm out, so I look forward to that as well. Thanks, man.
It'll be a good time, buddy.
All right. Talk to you later.